welcome back to Reactioncast. It's your host Jesus, aka Tyrant Dominus, and I'm here to give you another movie review. This time around, we're going to be talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
So, what's it gonna be? Ant-Man.
So, we're going to be talking about Ant-Man 3 basically, and kind of the next phase. Kind of the kind of, how do I explain it? It's the MCU has been in a weird state in the last couple films. As anyone who has been following the franchise, it's been rough the last couple movies. Some of the films have been good, some have been mediocre. But now that we're getting introduced kind of to the new big bad, that's going to be like basically our Thanos for the next couple phases or two, I'm not quite sure. But we already know that we're going to go into kind of the King Dynasty. And so getting an introduction to our big bad, who is played by Jonathan Majors, we were fortunately able to see him portray a version of a king in Loki as He Who Remains. So I was actually, prior to watching this film, I actually watched the first two Ant-Mans. I watched the last episode of Loki just to kind of get a little bit of just to first get a refresher on Ant-Man, and then get a little bit more of a refresher on the performance of Jonathan Majors. For sure, as far as acting, Jonathan Majors did a wonderful job as King, and like it was good. The rest of the cast, since we're following Scott Lang, Hope, I believe Cassie. Yeah, Cassie is his daughter. And then Hank, and oh my god, what is the name of Hank's wife? Oh my god, that's gonna be bothering me. Janet. And so we're following them. So most of the film is just kind of these like main characters as we move along. And then we get introduced to some other sub characters. But the sad thing is, you get introduced to some of these characters, and you don't really get that much of a development with any of them. You don't really, they're just there, and there are times when you kind of, it feels like they should have some importance, or some, like they're trying to like, oh, you should kind of care about some of these characters. I just didn't. They had some funny moments here and there depending on your style of humor. I found some comedics here and there, but some were a miss for me. And so yeah, and now the plot. This is really the what will get you. The plot is pretty standard, and it's formulaic. You really have this formulaic MCU style story. They're put into a situation, they have to get out of it, and they have to fight the big bad at the end, basically. So it's nothing too grand. It's just a big villain at the end, really. That's the thing, because this is really just a big introduction to who Kang is, and kind of how Scott has been enjoying things after the end game, just kind of really seeing how he's been handling his professional life, his family life. And there's even moments when they're trying to handle some family stuff that kind of was like, you get introduced to some of these family issues in the beginning of the film, and they're mentioned here and there, but then it just kind of just fizzled out, and there's no real conclusion with that. It's just open-ended, and I'm like, okay, you can say there is a little, but it just doesn't hit. It doesn't hit maybe how hard maybe they wanted it to hit. And so now let's go with some of the visual, because most of this movie is all visual effects. Like, that's what you're getting. So a ton of really fun, interesting scenes. You can tell as we were watching the credits, waiting for like the mid and end credit scenes, you could see the lists of all the visual studios and people who worked on this, and more power to you. This place looked fantastic. It was weird, crazy, like awe-inspiring. The thing that will get me, and for me it took me a while because it's in the trailer, so it's like if you're upset about this, but he shows up in the trailer. One of the sub-villains of MODOK, there's something interesting about who MODOK is that I found like, oh, so that's who this is. Okay. But the thing is, does anyone know who MODOK is? It's not a machine. I think it's like, I'm trying to remember. There's a specific thing for MODOK. Let me just double check here. MODOK. Why can't I spell MODOK? There it is. It stands for, where'd you go? MODOK. Wait, why can't I? Oh my god, it's taking forever. Why can't you just give me the first thing? It should be the first thing. MODOK should just mean machine. Why are you so hard to just give me? Like, really? There it is. Oh my god, why did it take forever to just give me? It is, mechanized organism designed only for killing, and that's cool. So he's an evil villain with a giant ass face with like little arms and legs, and so like how are they gonna implement that, and like how good is it gonna look? I'll be honest, it was kind of a little bit janky in the beginning. You get kind of used to it towards the end. But yeah, I think that was my least favorite special effects of the entire thing. I'm like, like there's sometimes it can work, but this was not that time. But it was played for what it was. That's kind of the only like criticism I have of that, because the rest of the film looked really good. Like I said, and the thing is, the story is pretty simple, nothing too high stakes. The thing is, that's what it is. It's a film that feels like it needs to be high stakes, but it just doesn't fit sometimes. There's so many times when I was watching this film, like it should feel serious, but it just isn't, and mostly with such a divisive villain that they are introducing, because there are times where he's so menacing and he's like, I'm gonna murder your daughter, and I'm like, oh shit, he's intense, and it hits, but then it kind of moves into the next scene. The flow just doesn't work well. Some tonally it just didn't fit sometimes, and so that's the thing I'm getting at. Like the movie, I'll say this now, the movie isn't bad. It's a fun watch. But it was not. I think I was expecting for a little bit more. I was expecting a little bit more, mostly for the kind of the beginning of the King era of films to come, and I think that's what is getting me. It just wasn't what I was hoping for, and just a film that I was looking for. And the other thing, I'll say this now, like I was so waiting for Luis to show up, man. I love his characters in the other Ant-Man films, and so disappointed that he wasn't in this one. Like I said, it's a smallish cast, and you're following just this, and you would think with such a small cast you would get a little bit more like development with certain characters. it just doesn't. It's just like action, the exposition, and it's like, it's not bad. It just doesn't fulfill some of the things that it laid out in the beginning. It just didn't click properly, in my opinion. So yeah, that's kind of really it. I'm kind of really beating around the bush, because I really wanted this to be much more than it was. Like I said, it wasn't bad, and it was fun to watch. I enjoyed it. So let me see here. I'm gonna give Ant-Man and the Wasp. Let's see here. I'm gonna give this one. Actually, I'm gonna give this one. Some of the comedy was pretty okay. Nothing. A lot of there were some fun moments. But just wasn't. I'm gonna give this one a 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. It was above average, and I think it's just because I was hoping a little bit more from this film, mostly for what they were like, where we're heading into, and mostly because some of the other Ant-Man films are so much more intriguing and they just fit so well. It didn't fit so well on this one. I'll mention that. So yeah, I'm gonna say that 6 out of 10. Better than average. It's a fun watch. I would watch it once, and just catch it again at home. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys thought about Ant-Man. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave me know down in the comments below. If you're watching this on Anchor or Spotify, leave a comment. But yeah, that is my thoughts. So thanks again for listening or watching. Until next time, see ya.